You are listening to the Next Play podcast, the playbook for high-performing leaders who want to exceed their full potential. From walking on the Ole Miss football team at 5'7", 150 pounds and earning a full D1 scholarship, to coaching thousands around the world and working with massive organizations like IBM. I've learned countless lessons that I'll be sharing right here with you. Join me as I interview some of the most successful people so you too can learn how to focus on always moving forward by deciding, planning, and executing on the next play relentlessly. This is Richie Contartesi with the Next Play podcast, and today we have a special guest, Philip Palumbo. We actually just had a really good conversation, but this is somebody who has a lot of experience in corporate America, a lot of experience in sales, a lot of experience in leadership, and growing people, growing teams, and growing not only companies' income, but other people's income. So someone very special coming from two different angles. So I'm super excited to talk about that. He's worked at Merrill, Lynch, Morgan Stanley, UBS. Now he has his own company. He's been doing it for over 23 years. So someone who's going to give a lot of knowledge in a lot of different areas that you can pull from. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Richie.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this conversation. I look forward to learning not only about what you did in corporate America as a vice president, but also what you're doing now to grow not only your income, your company's income, your team's income, but also other people's income. And I hope people could take away two sides of the table with that. So you went to Towson University, is that right?
Yes.
Cool. So walk me through, how did you get there and how did you get into business?
Mm-hmm. Well, so I had a big passion for playing lacrosse growing up, and I always wanted to play Division I lacrosse. So, and playing in Maryland was the area to play when it came to lacrosse, is both Long Island and also in Maryland. So, and I wanted to go away to school. Nobody in my family has ever gone away to school, so that really interested me, as all my friends went away to school at that time. So at the time, I got into Towson and I started to play lacrosse there, which is an awesome experience. Maryland was a beautiful state, really enjoyed it. But after I graduated, I came home and I kind of said to myself, okay, what is it that I want to do? And fortunately, I have an older brother. His name is Anthony, and he's in the wealth management business at Merrill Lynch at the time. And he got me an interview with my manager at the time, who was Tom Fickinger, who was a really great guy, stud football player, I believe at Villanova. And he hired me right on the spot. And I remember saying, what my income was. I think he said, I'm going to pay $26,000. I said, can you make it $29,000? He said, sure, no problem. And he brought me on board. So that's basically how where I went to school. Again, lacrosse, really playing athletics in general, my whole life was the foundation to who I am today by far. So that's how it all started. And it started at Merrill Lynch. And as far as in the wealth management space, as I am right now, I remember 3 or 4 months into it, I was in my cubicle at the time. I was studying for my Series 7, my Series 66, and then my life insurance. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I remember I saw like this huge epiphany. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I love this business. I'm going to be in this business for the rest of my life. And literally from that day on, that was the case. So it's been an awesome run, totally looking forward to the future. But that's the whole start of it.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So this is good. So you said something that really stood out to me. So you played lacrosse and you said you learned a lot of things while playing lacrosse that you now use in business. Walk me through that. What are some of the key things that have made you who you are today that you took away from playing lacrosse?
Yeah. So when in athletics, is just relentless need to want to be the best and push yourself to be the best. There was never ever a break for me where I came home from school and I didn't have a sport to participate in. Every single season I participated in, even from 7th grade, where there was 4 seasons. And obviously in high school, there were 3 seasons. So it was school for me. It was sport after school. And then I literally worked at a pizzeria restaurant till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night and did homework until 1 o'clock in the morning. And literally that same routine all through college. So athletics, you when you're anything from when you're done with your practice to getting on the back line and running across the field and trying to outbeat your teammates, to you have 5 attackmen. I was an attackman lacrosse, and you're trying to beat, the top. You're trying to get in the top 3, and you're pushing hard to do that. So that constant push and work ethic that you learn on the field and the sweat that you put in, it's business. I mean, that's business. That's leadership, and that's what business is all about. There's no way that you can get to the top of your game without pushing and sweating, just like you do in athletics.
Absolutely. So totally agree. So you went to Merrill Lynch, right? That was the first job, Merrill Lynch.
Yes.
You got this job, $29,000, or you negotiated your way to $29,000 a year. What was that first job that you had?
So my first job, as it is the same now, was a private wealth advisor at Merrill Lynch in the program. And my role right now is you try to help affluent families and individuals manage all their wealth and all their financial matters, making life as simple and easy as possible. So that was the role that I had when I first started, and that's the role I had all the way through, which I eventually became vice president, not at Merrill Lynch because I was only there for 5 years, but at Smith Barney, I was vice president. And then when I left UBS, I was senior vice president.
So what's the difference? I'm just curious. What's the difference between what you're doing as a wealth manager versus like a financial advisor?
It's the same thing, right? So
Okay.
wealth manager, financial advisor, financial consultant, there's a whole bunch of different names, but you're managing somebody's wealth. So you're managing and you're advising somebody on their finances. So whether you're called a financial advisor or financial consultant or wealth manager, it's essentially the same names.
Got it. Got it. So okay, so you got to Merrill Lynch, you're a wealth advisor. Now walk me through kind of like your path through, like, obviously you worked your way up at, you said Smith Barney, you were vice president, and then at UBS, senior vice president. Take me through that journey. What did that look like as, you worked your way up? And these are like big financial companies. What was that like? Walk me through that.
Yeah. So the way you move up the ladder in wealth management, it really comes down to the revenue that you produce for these firms. So obviously, when I first started, I started at zero, right? And then you build it up to a certain revenue stream. And then when you get there at the end of the year, they then say that you're vice president, senior vice president, et cetera, et cetera. And that's kind of how you move up the ladder, which is different than your general corporate America. Let's say, for example, if I worked at IBM, you may start out as an executive director, then all of a sudden you become vice president, and executive president, vice president, or senior vice president, then executive vice president, then eventually maybe even CEO. So that's a different progression, So it's almost like me as a wealth advisor within all these firms. It's almost like I had my own company called Palumbo Wealth Management, but it just happened to be underneath the umbrella at the time at Merrill Lynch, and then it was at Smith Barney, and then it was eventually at UBS. So I've been essentially running my own business my whole career, except under the confines of these major Wall Street firms. So it's a bit different than, again, like I said before to you, when you start at an IBM at a starting role and you move up the ladder from there.
Got it. Okay, cool. So real quick, how did you, like, you were in sales too, right? Like you had to find your own clients.
Yeah. So like anything in life, whether you're running for the president of the United States or you have a business, you're always selling, in terms of you're trying to convince somebody of why you should, in my business, why you should manage their money, right? Why they should hire you.
It's a big deal. That's not an easy sale.
A huge deal. I always say all the time, working with people and managing their money is a lot different than being their accountant, their lawyer, or even a physician in many respects. I mean, when it comes to money, people have this obsession about money, which in many respects, you should, in some cases, not all cases, but a lot of people do. Some people actually care about their money more than they care about their children. In some cases, they've been working with many people throughout my career. So money is the way I always describe it is there's, 3 most important parts in people's lives. One is people's health, right? If you have your health, you can enjoy your family, and in order to enjoy your family, it's helpful to have money. So I'm one of those 3 parts in people's lives. So it's really important what I do. So I always say, I never really sell people on anything. I always educate them. I help them understand my process that I built, that I believe in. And in the end, I always tell them, take it home and think about it. But I just feel because of the process I have and the way I educate them and the way they understand it, it always pushes them to want to work with me in the end.
Got it. Okay, cool. So do you have like a sales process that you use, or like when you first started, are you just banging the phones, cold calling? Like what is that like? What did that look like?
So me and my friend Brandon Joy, who's a very successful financial advisor now at Morgan Stanley. So he and I, when we first started at Merrill Lynch, we would sit in a cubicle, and first 3 or 4 years, we literally would track, we made 400 to 500, sometimes 600 cold calls per day. I literally would be the first person in the
500
office.
calls in a day?
Yes, exactly. I mean, I could show you all the cross offs and everything like that. Then we'd have a filing cabinet, a tickler system, we called it back then, where we put the lead on the actual index card, put it in the tickler system, and that's how we would follow up back then. And we literally did that for a good 3 to 4 years. And Brandon and I were the first person in the office, and we were the last person to leave 11:30 at night, sometimes 10, 11:30 at night. And literally every night that I would leave, I felt like I got hit in the head with a frying pan. But that's what it really took to succeed in this business in the beginning. It's different now today, but that's how it was back then, about 21 years ago.
So that's insane, dude. I didn't even know that would be
I have no idea
500
how
calls a day. That's crazy. That's like, did you have like a software where it like like did the dial like you just
just dialing away, dialing away.
dang, bro, that's insane. Okay, cool. So how long you did that for 3 or 4 years? Then what happened? Like
Then so then actually I did about 5 years, let's say. And then from there I left Merrill Lynch and I went to Smith Barney.
you're tired of making the calls?
No, I just at the time I was unhappy with Merrill Lynch. They were like product pushing type firm, and I was just like, I'm out of here. So I left. I
Got
went to
it.
Smith Barney, and which was a very good firm. And then I was lucky enough. My brother introduced me to this financial advisor who was doing a ton of seminars. So I literally I called him up and I said, listen, do you mind if you can just teach me on how you go through this process? And he said yes. So I drove out east to his home, and he sat down with me for a couple 3 hours. I think it was a Saturday afternoon, if I recall. He
Okay.
was incredibly nice to literally show me exactly how you do it start to finish. And I was so grateful for him. And I've always been grateful. And even till today, I'll still sit down with him, have lunch with him, and just tell him how grateful I am for what he had taught me, because it really put me on the map. So what I basically did from that day, I went to my manager and I said, listen, I had this whole business plan. I said, here's exactly what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing these seminars. Here's the process. And here's how much money I need to execute this. Do you mind splitting it with me? At the time, my manager was Glenn Fisher, awesome guy. And he looked at me because he saw I was serious, right? I had everything written out in detail.
Yeah, you did
And
the work. Yeah.
he knew I was going to execute on it if I had the money. And I did. So literally the next 7.5 years, I did one seminar every month, sometimes two. And that was like a game changer. I had probably anywhere from 7 to 10 meetings a week, new people. Any advisor who was in that office at that time would come into my office like, Phil, what the heck are you doing? I can't believe how many people come visit you. And that's, kind of the reputation I had built. And it was really awesome because those seminars generate all these people that want to come in, meet with me. And I really built a great business, all the way through my years in Smith Barney. So then Smith Barney, what happened with Smith Barney is then at the time the financial crisis hit in 2008 and Citibank almost went bankrupt. Citigroup owned Smith Barney at that time. Clients were getting frantic, and that's when I had left to go to UBS at that time.
Got it. So many people listen, the easiest way to get clients is to speak in front of large groups of people that can hire you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's
Like,
really, and I enjoy it too.
So cold calling is good. It definitely works for sure. I'm not, like everything works if you get good at it, right? But the way I look at it, and I would teach salespeople this is like, dude, if you can get in front of your target audience and learn how to speak and present, you're going to do so well because they can connect with you. You can, and especially if you can articulate what the heck you do in the right way in a short period of time,
Right.
people will want to work with you. So that's really, so how did you come up? Okay. So you go from cold calling, you go to Smith Barney, you start doing seminars. Then what happened?
So then I went to UBS and I continued to do seminars, but then my business got to the point where I was getting referrals. I was getting referrals from my current clients. My clients brought over new money. I was getting referrals from CPAs and attorneys. Again, I started to continue to do seminars. But then eventually, I just got to the point where I got got to a decent size where there were some really good referrals coming in. And that's pretty much, where I've been ever since.
This is interesting. So if you're in a sales leadership role or you're in a sales role, like how does someone set this up, dude? Like how do I set up how do I set up seminars? Like if I want to start doing seminars to get clients, how do I do that?
Yeah. So the way I did it was you hire a marketing company that would send out thousands of invitations to people in a local area where you want to do an event. So actually at UBS, I did teaching events as well, which is a seminar, really the same concept. There were restaurant seminars, and then there were seminars that I do at universities. And that's kind of how I finish things off, which I haven't done really for over the past 3 to 4 years, COVID, and I had left UBS and was going through the transition. So you hire a marketing company, send out thousands of mailings to people. Out of the thousands of mailings of people, let's say I was sending out like 10,000 at the time, approximately
10,000?
10,000. Yeah, I wasn't. My marketing company I hired, they were doing it. So I would get 40 to 50, we call buying units, which essentially would be 2 people, right? If it's husband and wife, that's 1 buying unit. Not if they came together, it would be 2, that's 1. So we'd get like 40 to 50 interested prospects that would come to my teaching engagements. And at that time, it was 2 evenings, one Tuesday, then it would be the following Tuesday they would sign up for, or Thursday to the following Thursday. So you send out the mailing, people show up, you do a 2-day event. They get to, like you said before, they get to learn about what you do, you educate them. You don't ever try to sell them. I was never interested in doing that anyway. I would just present and educate them on all the areas they need to know as it relates to finances. At the time was retirement and pre-retirement, both post-retirement. And then when you're done going through your presentation, you then, in the end, you would then say, if you're interested in meeting with me, please complete this form here. And that's what they would do. They would indicate, check off if they would want to meet with me. And I would get tons of meetings that way. So it all starts with the mass mailing campaign.
Yeah.
That would then bring in the people to want to go to your event.
So that looks like it seems like that's like a really good B2C strategy when you could just mass mail in a specific area. And yes, it seems more of a B2C strategy. Okay, cool. Did you like rent a space in a hotel to do that?
So the last 3 to 4 years before I left UBS, it was teaching at a local university here. That's predominantly where I would do it. I'd rent out a classroom and pay the actual university, and that's where I would do the teaching engagements. When I started at Smith Barney, I would do it at a local restaurant. I had like 4 different restaurants that I would go to, and that's where the attendees, and same thing, I would send out about 5,000 mailings. Of that, 20 to 40, sometimes even 50 people, would show up in the restaurant, and they would have a meal and that whole jazz. And that's what I would do. I would, go to 4 different restaurants and then, rinse and repeat throughout the whole entire year. And then eventually went into the university, like I said before.
Dude, that's so funny. What is the percentage there? 5,000 mailings, and let's say you got 30 people. What percentage is that? I don't know the math.
So the bottom line percentage ended up being so if I sent out 10,000 mailings, about 2% of people would show up, right? Which would be 20 people. And about 16.7% of them, believe it or not, in the exact number, would actually become my client.
Holy smokes. So 16% of the 2% would book a meeting, or 16 of the 2% would become your client. That's
become my actual client. So of the 2% of the 10,000, which are 20 people, 20 what I call buying units, of the 20 people, 87% of them would book an appointment to come and meet with me in my office. And usually a third were not qualified to become my client. The other 2/3 were. And again, of the whole group that came with me to meet with me, from everybody who came, that of the 20 people, it ended up being 16.7% of them would actually become my client.
Dude, that's awesome, man. What a good model.
It was great.
Funny, dude. Restaurants and
it was great. It is great. I mean, I would love to continue even doing it now. I'm a little bit busy right now, but
yeah.
I enjoyed that stuff a lot. I really did. I enjoyed meeting people. It was cool. It really was.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about doing like virtual events?
I've done a couple already, which are pretty cool and different. The reason why I like the virtual events, like the webinars, is I could do it now in my office at 11, 12 o'clock. I do it on this great smart board that I had bought. And because I love to teach, that's something I really enjoy doing. And I think I do it okay. So I just basically took the concept of teaching in a classroom, brought it to the webinar platform. And I've done so far, I've done 3 so far. And I'm definitely going to roll with that because I can't teach in the evening anymore. I coach lacrosse with my 3 boys, so that's impossible to do. So this really works out perfect for me if it's going to be successful. And, you know, so far it's I think it's been okay. I think it can get much better, which I think it will. So yeah. But the core of my business now really is existing clients who have money outside of me. They bring more of that as a share of that to me. Plus the referrals from them, I mean, that's the core of my business, really, probably about 70%. Another 30%, you know, if I have time, I'll do a webinar, you know, bring on additional clients. Webinars are good for my current clients. You know, that's pretty much the way the business has been working going forward.
Got it. And so walk me through how you help your clients. Like clients come to you, they say, here's where I'm at. And here, where do you take them?
It's all about me. When someone comes to me, it's about me providing peace of mind to them for the rest of their life. I always say when you come in to my office, I always like to kind of say, like, I got it. Like, you know, here's how we do it. Here's the process. You know, I want to make sure you're comfortable with the process, you understand it. And if you're comfortable with the process and you hire me, when you leave my office, you get in your car and you do the things you love to do in life and you think about your money, because you think about me managing that for you, you get relief knowing that I got it for you, right? So taking that burden off your shoulder is so tremendous into everything that we do, right? So yeah, you know, business is about, you know, making money and growing your income and all these types of things, and I totally get that, but really I really do believe, you know, we're all born into this world, and you know this stuff a lot. You know, we're born into this world, and we're all born with a certain skill set, right? There are good skill sets that I have that I think I try to maximize as much as possible. And there are other skill sets that I'm just okay at and I'm aware of it and it's a weakness. I use other people to build those weaknesses up. And but maximizing who I am as a person, I think, is the most important thing. And I think the skill set of educating people and simplifying it for them so they can make a decision to come on board with me, which in the end will benefit them because I take the burden off their shoulders, and I help to make sure that the vision that they have for their life, for the rest of their life, really comes through and becomes a reality. And that's what I feel like kind of I'm born to do, and help people from that standpoint. And that's, you know, how the business is run. So you know, you come in day one, I want to understand where you are, what your vision is for your life. And then I want to go through with you how I can make that vision a reality. That's what it's all about.
So there's 2 areas I want to go down here. One, I want to go down quick, something you said about what you do as far as your team. And then I want to talk about what you do for people, for your clients. So I want to start with your team real quick. You said the weaknesses that you have, you're able to identify those and then find people to fill them and keep those people moving forward so you can continue to grow, right? Like that's how you moved up Morgan Stanley, UBS, and now you've had your own company. What's your philosophy around that? What's your process around that? How do you do that?
The first step is to understand where your weaknesses are and understand where your strengths are.
Right.
And then you build a team around you that can help you maximize what you're trying to accomplish to its full potential.
Right.
So that's step one, right? So for me, I'm not a data-driven guy where I'm going to sit in front of a computer and crunch numbers and do all that type of stuff. And that's why I have a financial planner, and that's why I have a trader. Other parts of, you know, obtaining information that I think is really important about a specific company that maybe we own, that I don't have the time to go through a 10K. So I have somebody for that to get me certain information that I think is really important for me, that I need to know and understand about a particular company. Also regarding the CEO of the company. So let's take the CEO of Apple right now. Tim Cook, this is an easy one, but, you know, where was Tim Cook before he was CEO, and where was he before that, and kind of getting a trail of his successes and within companies that he managed before, you know, was his companies always a success? So I don't have the time to go through all that type of stuff. So, and nor do I really enjoy that, but I enjoy getting it and then from there dissecting it. Like accounting type work and CFO type work. Although I do that for my clients, I need somebody to kind of do that for the firm. So I hire somebody in that magnitude, to cover that aspect. So everything I think the most important part or aspect of really growing a company exponentially is understanding your weaknesses and building a team around that and knowing how to delegate. Once you know how to delegate and you get comfortable with delegating, that is number one, by far the number one aspect to taking things to the next level. So for me, I always, and I told you this before when we were speaking, I always look at kind of what I need to do for the day and saying to myself, okay, what can I delegate to my team? What can I delegate to my team? What can I delegate to my team so there's nothing left on my plate so I can do what I enjoy most, which is talking to clients and growing the firm. So in building a team, that's how you have to approach it to really have key success.
Yeah, yeah. And so how do you keep your team in the game, right? Like that's always the challenge, right? Retention is a big challenge and keeping people motivated and moving forward every single day because you have a vision, right, for your company.
Yep.
You have team members that they have their own visions of what they want in their life, right? Plus, what they probably want for the company too. So how do you keep people motivated? How do you keep people in the game? Because, you've built a pretty solid company and that's not easy. So how do you do it?
People who are going to be listening to this, they may or may not agree to this. I could tell you from my experience, money talks and everything else walks when it comes to employees. Reed Hastings talked about it in his book, which is a great book, by the way, and I highly recommend it. Of Netflix.
What is it?
Reed Hastings of Netflix. He wrote a book. Oh my gosh, I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but incredible book. If you run a business, if you are a leader of a business, employees may not have that same passion, right? In fact, they're not going to have that same passion. So I think if you understand that as a CEO of a company, first, just like anything else, you manage your expectations. And ultimately, what motivates people is money.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. I always feel like if I wasn't the CEO and because I've been there before where I was more of an employee, the key thing as an employee to really grow is to prove to the CEO that you want to do things more than what you're instructed to do. And in doing so, money will follow that, right? I can't tell you how much I believe that. And I know that to be true. But unfortunately, not everybody is bred that way. So as a CEO of the company and being a leader, of course, I talk about the vision and where I want us to go. But at the same token, I got to be paying top dollar to keep everybody happy and everybody in their chair, right? Because if somebody walks tomorrow, certain people, that would be. We could always replace, but it would be an issue for a short period of time, and I don't want that to happen because I'm growing so much.
It'd be like a time crunch and this and that, and you got to
Right.
go find some. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
I don't want to even deal with that headache. Right.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So your philosophy is number one, keep the vision up front and in focus. And number two is I pay well. That's your kind of
Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind. Yes.
awesome. And do you find do you have I'm just guessing, is your retention in your years as a leader, have you just retained people really, really well? Have you noticed that when you noticed you moved to that you were able to retain people on a deeper level? What was that like?
My turnover maybe is, I don't know, it's got to be very low. It's maybe it's like 3% turnover. But that person would probably, in the wirehouse world, unfortunately, there was always shuffling going around because they were cutting costs. I went through two major downturns in markets. So when you go through downturns, these Wall Street banks, they start cutting back on cost, and sometimes maybe your main assistant gets shared with another advisor, and so it's a whole other story. But I would say, to answer your question, turnover's got to be somewhere less than 5%. And I think, Richie, I think also, it's got to be about, I think, I'm a good person, I like to think, and nice to be around. I'm not a demanding person. There's certain things, that I feel if I really want to get done, I'll point to it and be stern about it. But other than that, I feel like us as leaders, you really have to just be cordial with people and treat them with respect and honor, and all that type of stuff. That's really, really important.
100%. So what's your next play from here? What's your next, big movement for Phil?
So we will get to $1 billion as a firm in the next 4 years, 5 years. And ultimately, I like to be the Dr. Oz of the financial world. I feel like Susie Ormans of the world and Dave Ramsey
Right.
did a nice job. I kind of feel like the world is ready for a fresh new start. And I feel like I could articulate that and achieve what they have achieved, which could be, again, goes back to what I said before. It's all about living on earth and helping as many people as possible. I mean, obviously I work with a select group of individuals and families right now, and that'll always be the case in terms of they working directly with me and me helping them. But part of me says, I'd love to go out there in the world and, take my experience. And because I can articulate things in a simple way for people to understand, I think that's one of my skill sets. So why not be able to take that and run with it and really take it to a whole nother level. So that's definitely what I would love to do as I move up within my career.
Awesome, man. I love it. And I know without a shadow of a doubt, you're going to get that. So yeah, man, I appreciate you being on the show. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your story. And go ahead.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Rich, this was great. It was great talking to you. And I look forward to talking to you again. Good luck with all your success.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it. We appreciate having you here.
All right. Great. Thank you.
Right, you got it, man.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Next Play podcast. If you liked the show, make sure to leave us a review. For more resources, visit relentlessuniversity.com or download the free Relentless University app. And if you're interested in having me speak at your next event, visit relentlessrichie.com. Until next time.